Acceptance is one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal growth. Many people hear the word and immediately think of giving up, settling, letting life walk over you, staying quiet while things go wrong. But that interpretation couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, real acceptance is one of the strongest mental positions a human being can occupy, and most people avoid it precisely because it requires strength. Think about how we usually react when life doesn't go the way we planned. Resistance comes first. Anger, frustration, endless mental arguments with reality. We replay conversations, imagine different outcomes, blame ourselves or others, and quietly ask, "Why did this have to happen to me?" That internal fight can last days, months, sometimes years. And the strange part is that we call this trying or being strong, when in reality it's often just exhaustion disguised as effort. Acceptance begins at the moment you stop arguing with what already is. Not because you like it, not because you approve of it, but because denying reality drains your energy far more than facing it. Acceptance is not surrendering your power, it's reclaiming it from a battle you were never meant to win. Imagine someone who just lost a job they identified deeply with. Their first instinct might be panic or shame. They might tell themselves they failed, that they're behind in life, that others are ahead. Resistance shows up as self-judgment and fear. Acceptance in this moment doesn't mean saying, "This is fine," when it's not. It means saying, "This is what happened. I'm not going to lie to myself about it." That honesty is grounding. It brings you back into the present where real choices exist. Here's where acceptance reveals its true power. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. Resistance keeps you stuck in reaction mode. Acceptance creates clarity, and clarity is the starting point of intelligent action. This is why acceptance feels uncomfortable to the ego. The ego prefers drama, it prefers blame, it prefers stories where you are either the victim or the hero fighting something external. Acceptance removes the drama and replaces it with responsibility, not guilt, but responsibility. The calm recognition that now that I see clearly, I can respond differently. There's a quiet courage in that, and courage doesn't always look loud or defiant. Sometimes it looks like sitting with disappointment without numbing it. Sometimes it looks like admitting you stayed too long in a situation that no longer fits you. Sometimes it looks like letting go of the version of yourself you thought you had to be. If this idea already challenges the way you've thought about acceptance before, take a second to support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. It helps more people encounter these ideas at moments when they truly need them. Acceptance also doesn't mean passivity. This is another major misunderstanding. Passive resignation says, "There's nothing I can do." True acceptance says, "This is where I am. Now what's the most aligned move forward?" One shuts you down, the other opens options. Look at nature for a moment. Water doesn't fight obstacles, it accepts them. And because of that, it moves around them, over them, through them. Over time, it reshapes entire landscapes. That's not weakness, that's adaptability. That's intelligence in motion. Human beings, however, often waste enormous energy wishing things were different instead of asking how to move wisely from where they stand. Acceptance is the moment you stop wasting energy, and when energy is no longer wasted, it becomes available for growth, healing, and change. But here's the part most people don't expect. Acceptance often comes with grief. You may need to grieve an outcome, a person, a version of your life that won't exist anymore. Avoiding acceptance is often just avoiding that grief. Yet grief processed consciously passes. Resistance keeps it frozen. Acceptance doesn't make you smaller, it makes you lighter. One of the clearest signs that acceptance is strength, not weakness, is what happens after you accept something fully. Your mind becomes quieter, your reactions slow down, you stop leaking energy into imaginary battles, and suddenly you can see what's actually in front of you. That shift alone can change the entire direction of a life. Think about emotional pain for a moment. Heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal, failure. These experiences hurt, but what keeps people stuck isn't the pain itself, it's the resistance to it. The constant mental loop of "this shouldn't have happened" or "I can't accept this." Ironically, that resistance often hurts more than the original event. Acceptance doesn't erase pain, but it shortens its lifespan. It allows pain to move through you instead of setting up camp inside you. There's a powerful example many people recognize only in hindsight. Someone stays in a job, relationship, or lifestyle that quietly drains them. They sense it's wrong, but they resist accepting that truth because accepting it would require change, and change feels risky. So they tolerate discomfort, telling themselves they're being patient or strong. Years later, they look back and realize the real weakness wasn't leaving, it was refusing to accept reality early enough to act on it. Acceptance is what separates patience from self-abandonment. Another place acceptance shows its strength is in emotional regulation. When you accept your emotions instead of fighting them, they lose their grip. Anxiety, for example, intensifies when you try to suppress it. But when you say, "I notice anxiety is here and I'm not in danger," the nervous system begins to settle. Acceptance communicates safety to the body. Resistance signals threat. This is why acceptance is deeply tied to inner stability. A person who accepts reality doesn't collapse under it, they stand with it. They're not pretending everything is okay, they're refusing to add unnecessary suffering on top of what already exists. There's also a quiet confidence that comes with acceptance. You stop needing to prove yourself constantly. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Acceptance allows you to say, "This is who I am, this is where I am, and I'm not ashamed of either." That kind of grounded presence is powerful. People feel it. Opportunities respond to it. If this perspective is shifting the way you see your own struggles, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It helps keep this kind of grounded, honest content alive. Content that doesn't sugarcoat life, but empowers you to meet it with clarity. Acceptance also sharpens discernment. Once you stop fighting reality, you start seeing patterns clearly. You notice what repeats, what drains you, what energizes you, what you've outgrown. This clarity makes future decisions cleaner. You're no longer acting from desperation or denial, but from understanding. And here's something rarely said out loud. Acceptance often requires letting go of an identity, the identity of the victim, the fixer, the one who always holds on, the one who never fails. Those identities can feel protective, but they can also become cages. Acceptance gently dismantles them, not to leave you empty, but to make room for something more honest. Real acceptance doesn't make you passive, it makes you precise. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You don't rush, you don't freeze, you move when movement is aligned. This is the point where acceptance stops being a concept and becomes a practice, one that quietly reshapes how you relate to everything in your life. The deepest shift acceptance brings isn't external, it's internal. You begin to trust yourself again, not because life suddenly becomes predictable or easy, but because you know you can face reality without breaking. That trust is the opposite of weakness. It's resilience rooted in clarity. When you stop fighting what already exists, you free yourself to act with intention. You no longer waste energy replaying the past or fearing imaginary futures. Acceptance anchors you in the present, and the present is the only place where change is actually possible. This is why acceptance is often the quiet beginning of transformation, not dramatic, not rushed, but real. Many people wait for acceptance to feel comfortable before allowing it, but acceptance isn't comfort first, it's honesty first. Comfort comes later, as a byproduct. When you finally say, "This is where I am," something relaxes inside you. Your nervous system stops bracing for impact, your mind stops rehearsing arguments, and in that stillness, new options appear, options you couldn't see while you were busy resisting. Acceptance also redefines strength. Strength is no longer about enduring everything silently or pushing through at all costs. It becomes about knowing when to stay, when to leave, when to speak, and when to be still. It's about choosing alignment over approval, truth over appearance, progress over pride. There's a subtle dignity in acceptance. You stop begging life to be different. You stop trying to control outcomes that were never yours to command. Instead, you focus on what is yours, your response, your boundaries, your next step. That's real power. And here's the paradox. Once you accept something fully, it often begins to change. Not because acceptance forces change, but because resistance was the only thing keeping you stuck. When resistance drops, movement becomes natural. If this message resonates with you, take a moment now to support the channel. Subscribe, leave a like, and share this video with someone who might be struggling to accept where they are. You never know whose perspective this might shift at exactly the right moment. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop wanting better. It means you stop lying about where you are, and from that honesty, better becomes possible. So the next time you hear the word acceptance, don't think of weakness, think of clarity, think of courage, think of the strength it takes to face reality without flinching and to move forward anyway. Because acceptance isn't the end of the journey, it's where the real journey begins.